The World of Warcraft movie. Was it good? Was it shit? Find out this week on Awesome Analysis.
It was shit. Spoilers.
It was okay.
Okay, it's Awesome Analysis. I'm Chris James. With me, as always, is Grant.
Hi.
There's Jared.
Heyo.
And our ground correspondent, Tino.
Hi.
Reporting from beyond the dark.
Yeah, so fuck. Okay, this movie, guys. This movie. Can we just talk about this fucking movie? I guess because it's the topic for this week.
We've all played World of Warcraft for 15 years or whatever now.
Too long.
We've been waiting for this movie for so long.
I was not waiting for this.
To give the listeners a little backstory, Grant, Tino, Jared, and I have been playing. We met playing World of Warcraft. Well, not Grant and I. Grant and I've been friends since high school, but Jared and Tino, and we met you guys playing Warcraft. We started a guild together. It was called Team Awesome, hence Awesome Analysis. This whole podcast is here because of our love for World of Warcraft, and our friendship is here because of our love of World of Warcraft. And we've been waiting. Yeah, like Jared said, we've been waiting for this movie since the first time we set foot in Azeroth.
Shit, I've been waiting for it since Warcraft 2.
Yeah.
Why were you looking forward to this?
Well, because when you experience
why
a
are
game,
your dreams dead?
When you experience a game and stuff like that, you want to see it brought to life. You want to see actors acted out. You want to see Hollywood's imagining of it, or a very talented director. Which the director of this movie is a talented director. I think this is going to be his first flop. I guess it's really popular in China right now. But,
yeah,
Duncan Jones. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, it is.
Yeah, and I've seen Moon, his other film, which is really pretty good.
That's a great movie.
Kick ass.
Exactly, and I think this is actually going to be his first dud in the Americas, so North and South America and Canada and all that good stuff. So I'm going to start let's start with story. Now, Grant's kind of our resident lore master. He kind of knows the lore better than all of us, so I'm going to defer to him on this and kind of walk us through the main story and kind of where they deviated from.
Well, I'm going to interject. Sorry, Grant. I'm stepping in line. But so we have to go into this movie realizing that this is Warcraft 1, the movie. This isn't Warcraft 2, the movie. This isn't Frozen Throne, the movie, which is what everyone wants. This isn't World of Warcraft, the movie. This is Warcraft #1, the video game, the movie.
This is
Orcs versus humans.
It is parts of Warcraft 1, the movie, except we don't get the end.
Yeah. And I have to say, the story wasn't the biggest strong point of Warcraft, the video game, either. It was there, and it was nice, but I wouldn't say that it was the selling point of that video game.
No, you're not wrong. I mean, our major players are all here. As far as humans go, we've got Lothar, we've got the king of what at the time was just called the Kingdom of Azeroth. Stormwind was basically a retcon. We have Khadgar, we have Medivh. They kind of added the queen, who is now Lothar's sister. The queen didn't really have a name before, and I believe she was just referred to as the consort, actually. That's fine. Fine addition. No problem with that. Garona for the orcs is kind of the major player, along with Gul'dan and Blackfist, or
Blackhand, yeah.
Blackhand, yeah, thank you. I was looking at Blackfist. And Durotan. Where it deviates is basically all those characters' interactions with each other. There is no subplot of romance between Lothar and Garona in the game. In fact, it's
barely in the movie.
It's barely in the movie, but actually, as far as the lore is concerned, and I really hate to do this, she and Medivh are actually the ones that kind of have the relationship.
Which actually makes more sense, right? Because Medivh is the one that is first he opens the dark portal on our side.
This is my first real big issue with the movie, is we have a portal that is shown to work with only one doorway.
Can I also interject?
Why do we have to build another one on Azeroth if it will work just fine?
Because it needs to work for longer, I guess. But anyway, also, was it retcon that she is half orc, half human? Or was she always half orc, half human?
She has an interesting story.
She's half Draenei. Yeah, she's half Draenei. Half orc,
then
half Draenei.
where the fuck was the Draenei parts? Okay,
Well,
Did they say she was half orc, half human in the movie?
it is everyone says that she's half orc, half human.
No,
like if you talk to
they
people,
say she's half
And-
orc, half human in the first game too.
in Durotar, they have Draenei and orcs. What else could she be? I mean, she couldn't be half human. There's no humans there.
That was going to be my question. Where did the human come from? Are we to assume that Gul'dan just like popped over to Azeroth and was like, "Hey, I'm gonna fuck this chick, and here's Gul'dan or Gamora, or whatever the fuck her name is," and more importantly, yeah, if she's half Draenei, where's the Draenei bits? There's no hoof feet. There's no horns coming out of her head. She looks human and orc.
That's been the case in all the media, though. She's never looked Draenei.
I get that, but the movie, right off the bat, the movie goes very. It has a big either plot hole or has not explained enough to where the heritage of this girl comes from.
Well, yeah, you only see Draenei for a split moment in the very beginning, and that's it.
Yeah, and yeah, they use their life essence to open the portal. But yeah, the big plot, at least as much lore as I remember, is that Medivh is the one that betrays Azeroth because he's under the influence of Gul'dan or the
Sargeras.
Sargeras, thank you, to open up the dark portal on our end, and that's how they come to be on our world. But that's not the case in this movie, and I again, that really doesn't make any sense, because like Grant said, then why the F do we need to open up a portal on this end if it already works, if most of the orcs are here?
I guess because Gul'dan is here now. He's on Azeroth, and he's the one that knows how to do it. So he had to come over, and he had to build the portal so he could open up another portal to let everybody else through.
I guess, but they already had most of their orcs here. And
they
were
had a
small
war
shit
band.
They made a big point of it being just a small fraction, just a small warband. All the best warriors. They even mentioned that in the beginning.
Yeah, they did, but I think
So the whole thing.
Okay,
no, sorry. The whole thing with Sargeras and Medivh, that's too much for them to put in the movie. I mean, it would have been great, and they alluded to it at the end, which is kind of silly because it just came out of nowhere for people that had no idea what it was. But going about explaining what Sargeras is just entirely too much for the movie, because that could have been an entire thing on its own. So they just kind of shoehorned him in at the end.
Yeah, instead we just have the quote corrupting influence of the Fel.
Yeah, and you could easily swap Fel for Sargeras, but anyway, I think we could have put him in. I think this would have been a really good movie. I think if we would have, instead of catering to fan service and focusing on action that no one cares about, if we would have delved into these characters a little more, if we could have learned a little bit more about the lore and be invested with it, we could have had a lot more fun of a ride. But instead, we are jumping from scene to scene and not giving enough time to, first of all, care and understand what's going on, and secondly, to get involved with these characters. And that's why this movie fails, in my opinion.
On the point of characters, this is one of the problems I had with Captain America, is that they don't explain the characters too much. For me, going into it, I know exactly who all these characters are. I understand all the references, but people who don't have any preconceived notions about this movie, yeah, they didn't do a very good job explaining these characters.
I agree a little bit, but the thing is, at least in that movie, we have moments with Tony Stark and we have moments with Steve Rogers where we get invested and we care about them. We have not. There's only one character that I could actually point out in this movie where you actually have time to get to know, and that's Durotan. Gul'dan is one direction. Is one dimensional. Same with even Gamora, Luthar. They all have one sort of motivation. And Khadgar as well. If I told you guys right now, give me 3 main character traits of Gamora, could you do it?
Ooh, Garona?
Garona or Gamora?
I'm sorry. See, I can't even remember a freaking name. But yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Garona.
Dude, no. They fleshed her out pretty well. She's one of the characters I think that had a big part in it.
Name me 3 character traits about her.
I don't know what you would consider a character trait, but she's definitely been bullied, right? They know that she's half. she's half orc, half whatever. So she's
I'm talking
constantly
about-
bullied
I'm
by all
talking
the other
about, like,
orcs. She's
if I were to tell
compassionate
you-
to other species who get fucking butt raped by all the other orcs who are just rummaging around. Does that count as a character trait? Are those
Yeah,
legitimate character traits?
compassionate. I will give you compassionate.
She respects strength.
She still has all of the values that the orcs do because that's the society she was raised in. So there's my 3.
Which doesn't make any sense because she was bullied throughout that whole society.
Yeah, you'd think she'd jump more to the Draenei part of her if that's like what she experienced her whole life, just being bullied by the large orcs.
But if I were to say to you, Jared, describe Han Solo to me without giving me anything about his looks, go. How many traits can you give me?
Oh, without his looks, never mind.
He can shoot and he can fly and he can
He's
talk
a
to
scoundrel with the heart of gold.
Scoundrel with the heart of gold. There you go. That's 4.
All right, now give me 3 traits about Khadgar without describing his looks.
Khadgar, he was a shitty mage that left the Kirin Tor.
That's that storyline. That has nothing to do with this character.
Well, he's a shitty mage. He's still an apprentice.
Again, like, is he?
What are we talking about? Garona, or are we talking about Khadgar? Because
I'm just saying,
a different story.
Any of these characters besides Duratan, you can't really do that because you don't have enough time to get to know them. You don't have time to get invested in them. You have no time to figure out their motivation.
Okay,
and that's
fine.
the reason
Khadgar,
why
he wants to do the right thing. He has power, but he's afraid of responsibility.
These aren't character traits. These are story points.
That's the character trait.
That's not a character trait. Character trait is something like a character trait would be something like he's compassionate. He cares about others, or he's a fearful person, or because he's afraid of everything, like things like that.
He's a bitch.
Motivations.
Because he really was a bitch.
The point is, these characters are so like 2-dimensional. And again, you don't know anything about their history. Does Khadgar have any brothers and sisters? Why does he care so much about the Kirin Tor? Why did he really even lead the Kirin Tor? Is it because he didn't agree with their philosophy? Is it just because he's like, fuck this, I want to learn on my own? What was it? Without going into the lore, just based off the movie, you don't really know. You kind of have like little one-off sentences, but that's it. And so like when these things happen, for example, there's a big sort of like supposed to be emotional part in this movie where Lothor's son dies. Did anyone give a shit?
That son that they didn't introduce until like 10 minutes before he dies?
Yeah, that was silly.
Exactly. And there's this big point and this and fucking what's his name is shooting lightning everywhere and the music swells and we're supposed to have this big huge emotional investment and nothing. No one cared. Because
that whole scene was a mess.
Yeah,
it was bad. It was bad, and it's because we don't care. We don't care about Lothor.
Once Medivh started doing the lightning, the whole thing just fell apart.
I want lightning walls in WoW though.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
Yeah,
there's no lightning spells in WoW. Shaman, but
shaman.
Yeah, but not from like a wizard, not from a mage. I mean,
not from a mage. Yeah.
He's not just a mage. He's the guardian of Tyr's Fall. Although I'm not sure they ever actually used Tyr's Fall.
No, he's just the guardian.
I think about.
They just call him the guardian. So that's my point. Like playing the video game, especially World of Warcraft, you get involved with these characters. You go on adventures with them. You care what happens to them.
Do you? I don't. I get a different feeling from it.
Well, that's because you play the game differently. But for those of us that are invested in the story more than that, then yeah,
you watch the movie differently. Because I think the one-dimensional characters, as you explained, was perfectly fine for the movie. I think it didn't detract from it. I think the characters that they spent time on, with some exceptions, okay, you have to take that with a grain of salt. I think the characters they focused on primarily were just fine, except for Khadgar. Everything else, I think that the pace of the movie was perfect. They introduced enough of the characters, they gave them enough of the background, just so you understand where they are and who they're coming from, where they're coming from.
When you do that, when you just put one dimension, it makes it hard for the audience to get invested in these characters. So when things happen to these characters, you don't give a shit. You're like, okay, moving on. And that's kind of how you are with Lothar. That's how you definitely were with Lothar's son. And that's where you are with any of these characters, except for Duratan. The only time where I'm like, okay, this movie's getting good is when Duratan has his fight with Gul'dan. And that's my major problem in this movie. I didn't give a shit about the King of Stormwind when like, because again we focus on him for like 5 fucking minutes. Their main character Lothar, once again, is never focused on. So when we're having big scenes with him and we're sitting there watching him, we don't give a shit. We're too busy looking around at the stuff. And which brings me to another point. This movie is shot like shit. I hate the way they shot this film. I hated the way they where the camera was focused. I didn't know where to focus half the time. There's this one scene specifically where they pan over and you're supposed to look at this. First of all, they just brought over their strongest orcs. Where there's one scene where you look over like this canyon. You're supposed to see this massive army of orcs that have just taken over the land in like 5 fucking minutes, and again, that shot looks so muddy. You couldn't focus on anything, and I could barely see orcs down there, let alone like what I'm actually supposed to be looking at. So that's my big problem with this movie too. Is it's shot just like weird. Like there's nothing for me to focus on. The shots are all drawn back. There's like 3 characters in each shot, and they're all doing weird shit. and then when someone starts talking, that's when I'm finally okay. I guess this is what we're supposed to be focusing on. They're not clean. They're not crisp shots, and that's a big problem. I don't know. What about you guys?
I don't know. As far as cinematography is concerned, I do kind of agree. The wide panning shots did have an awful lot going on, so your eye was kind of going every which direction. During the scenes where you would actually have like interactions between the humans and orcs and like actual combat, I didn't have a problem with those so much. It was kind of herky jerky, but I didn't feel like it was too distracting. I thought a lot of the scenes in which we had dialogue between the 2 characters were just too darn static. It reminded me a lot of the Star Wars prequels, where it was basically 2 characters standing up against a CG background going shot, reverse shot for exposition.
That's the perfect way to describe it. Yes. And when that happens, that's terrible storytelling and uninteresting storytelling. So like when action does happen, it's almost like a break, like, thank you. I guess we could just but like that really gets like a big part of movies like this, especially epics, especially fantasy epics, is your characters. I'm gonna say that a lot during this podcast because it's so fucking true. The reason why you give a shit in Lord of the Rings about Frodo and about Sam or even about Gimli and Legolas and Aragorn is because you spend so much time with them. You get to know them. You find out their quirks. You find out their relationship, how they feel. And so when things happen to them, you give a shit. So when there is a big battle, you're on the edge of your seat because you don't want to see these people that that you've just spent 2 hours getting to know like hurt, or if they do get hurt, it's fucking interesting, and it's not in this movie. Like that's a big part of fantasy, and they kind of dropped the ball there.
Yeah, introducing the character of Lothar's son, who is not a character who's in the game, just to be clear. I mean, it's supposed to be an emotional moment for him, but I kind of feel like we've spent enough time adding all these emotional moments for these characters that they could have instead just spent that time giving the movie a conclusion, and they would have been better off.
Yeah.
Like, I just feel like instead of adding a son, why didn't he just have like a battalion that he cared about, and then they got stuck in that lightning field? Instead of just like doing the fucking cop out of giving him a son that apparently he cares about, but doesn't even talk to until this fucking moment right before he dies or whatever.
And also, like afterwards, he gets the accusation like I treated him like shit or whatever. Like I'm paraphrasing, because obviously he can't say that. But yeah, I treated him like shit most of his life, but that's because I loved him. And like that was so fucking contrived and so fucking cliche. And it's like, and he's like drunk.
He's
and
drunk,
like for the rest of the
literally
movie afterwards,
laying on top of the bar. It's like, all right, this is a.
And where was that bar? Was that in the castle? Was that in Goldshire?
Oh God, could I have a bar in my castle?
Right.
That's coming with the next X Pack after Legion.
All right, so
Sweet.
let's have a little fun. Let's talk about the fan service and the little hints that we saw. And I think that was neat, at least in this movie. If I'm gonna give this movie some praise, it's gonna be at least they gave you some fan service.
That's what most of the movie was. Well, I think it was fucking cool because it was just fan service. It was 2 hours of fan service. I can look past most of the other flaws because it was Warcraft. and it's everything that I've grown to love. They threw some Murlocs in there. You know, when they're riding on the Griffin, flying into Stormwind, he lands where the Flight Master is.
Yeah, I like that.
Little things.
That made me smile. I was like, ah.
Yeah, I know that.
As well.
Medivh using polymorph to turn the guard into a sheep.
That was Khadgar, but yeah.
Or excuse me, thank you. It says it lasts about a minute, and I'm like, ha.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, look how you guys are describing it. Yeah.
Well, of course they had to do.
I have a dumb grin on my face. Like those are the little moments in the movie where I'm kind of like tee, and I get it.
Dalaran was sick. It was really
Dalaran
cool.
was in the sky. What the fuck?
Yeah, that was another flaw because Dalaran was in the ground near Lordaeron during this time.
Yeah, it's near Tirisfal.
Exactly.
Yeah, Cloud City's cooler than Ground City. Like our mages.
Also,
throw it in the sky.
Again, not really strong on the lore, Warcraft 1 lore, but where was Lordaeron during this time? Like, no mention of Lordaeron.
North.
They basically would have been one of the groups at the council that was called. Basically, the other human group that was going, fuck your problems. That was probably Lordaeron. Although that scene in particular, those elves look like cheap-ass cosplayers.
Oh my god,
right?
they're so bad.
Now,
the high elves.
Yeah, they were supposed to be high elves, but my fiance, who is also an avid war player and also part of our guild and will probably one day be on this podcast, was insistent that those were night elves, which I was like, no, because they were not introduced until Warcraft.
No,
3.
they're from
those would have been high elves, and it was just so distracting, especially because you have the one high elf character who is just literally a pair of tits. I don't think she shows like the side of her face the entire time. You don't see like an eyebrow out of her. The camera's just like, look at those fucking melons.
Hey, dorks, you like boobies? Here's your fucking tits.
Fan service.
Give us your money.
Although speaking of elves and the Kirin Tor as well, the eye glowing effects were just so distracting.
Yeah, that was weird.
I wouldn't have minded it on I didn't actually mind it on the high elves because that's kind of lore, but yeah, the Kirin Tor, what the fuck?
Yeah, the one old guy from the Kirin Tor, especially the one of the last shots of the movie where they're standing, and this is like the wake for King Lane or something, and he's just there with his mouth open the entire time, catching flies with his glowing eyes. Well, I have no idea what's going on.
He had a cold, so he had to breathe through his mouth. That's actually a good transition. Let's switch to I've really got to.
I'm going to chastise you for the use of the word transition, just like segue. We can cut this later, but dude,
let's transition to the segue where we're gonna move.
No, leave this in. So, like when people, if we ever do get popular, and people go back in the archives, they can see how shitty I am at hosting.
Jared, cut this out. Jared, you're our Barry. Cut all of this out.
Nope, it's going in.
Dwarves looked great. That was the best part of the movie. Fucking dwarves. I wish there was more fucking dwarves.
Was one of the best shots in the movie.
Oh man,
now here's my problem. Here's my problem with the CGI of this movie. The orcs looked amazing, but this movie suffers what I call goofy movie syndrome. Now, if you ever seen the movie, a Goofy movie, you'll notice that there's always these little things going on in the background. But once the main characters start talking, the background just freezes. There's this distinct shot in a Goofy movie where Max and Pauly Shore's fucking character are talking, and right behind them, this guy just kind of like walks into the frame, stares awkwardly at the camera with a grin on his face, and that's it. And these orcs fucking do that shit. Like, if there's orcs in the background, they'll like do a little kind of animation, like hitting each other, rah, 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 and they'll just stand there with their fucking mouths open and stare at you, and that's it. And
that's very common for CG though. It's called a fidget, and it happens in video games too, where there's just like an idle loop that they do, and that's just because it has to be filler. When you have 400 orcs in the background, they've got to do something.
Yeah, but the thing is, they do something and then they stop and they're just frozen there, and that's it. And that's really fucking distraction. It pulls you out of it because it makes them look like an effect and not a character.
Really, I didn't notice that actually. I noticed the opposite.
I always look at the background of these things ever since the fucking Goofy movie. Actually,
yeah, I've never noticed that, but now that you mention it, I'll have to go back and check it out. But the
But
female
they don't
orcs,
really do much.
the female orcs actually stood out to me as being very well animated, and they were exactly what I would expect from a female orc. They stood out to me in the background, except for like Garona, who's
Dude,
half orc,
Corona.
but not just her, not just her. Like the actual female orcs that were in the army that were running around.
Yeah,
and stuff,
yeah.
They were sick.
Yeah.
Okay. No, as far as the animation goes, and as far as how they were, I don't know, rendered. Fuck, what's the word? But they looked amazing. They looked like the orcs in the game. They were when they were animated, their animations were fluid. It's what we've come to expect, especially from the Blizzard CGI movies right before every World of Warcraft expansion drop.
Yeah, there was one scene,
Wonderful.
the ambush in the beginning when the orc warband meets the Stormwind warband. That was weird. That one didn't convey whatever was happening very well, because the orcs contrasted too like harshly against the humans. Like the green screen was having problems, or the lighting wasn't right, or something. I don't know. I can't really put my finger on it, but that was fucked up. That whole scene just did not look good. But the rest, of it was...
I'm gonna call to mind. There was a scene kind of late in the movie where I think it may have been Blackhand holds up a human and snaps his neck, but it's like, it looks so bad because those images he just clipped into his hand.
Yeah, that guy that he picked up, that black dude, he should have been the guy that, instead of having Lothar's son, that should have been the dude, because they were like bros. That guy, I don't even know his name. I don't know if he's even in the credits.
Well,
he was like the second in command. They should have just, I mean, he was already in the story. They should have just had him there. Actually,
yeah, that would have been good.
Yeah. But yeah, the scene I'm talking about is especially relevant. Well, no, that's not how I'm supposed to say that at all. Edit this part out. The scene I'm talking about specifically is when Duratan and Gul'dan are having their fight. And if you look at the orcs in the background, there's some doing their cheering and hooting, and there's just some that look deadpan at the fucking camera after they're done their animation, and that's it. And they're just kind of like frozen there. They don't move, and I just, it looked weird, and it looked like it again. They looked like, okay, no one's gonna pay attention to this, so we'll just stop them from moving.
I didn't notice that. I'm gonna have to go back and watch it.
I don't know.
I can't say I noticed that either.
Yeah, the stuff from the background that I noticed was really good. A lot of secondary motions in the background, just stuff happening. But see, that goes back to what you were saying before, is that there was too much stuff happening in the background, and now you're saying that there wasn't enough happening in the background.
No, I'm not. That's not what I said at all. I said there was there is shit that the shot, when it was shot, was like you didn't know where to focus.
Yeah, there's not enough focus when the background and the foreground are so clear.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
So I never had a problem with there being too much shit on scene. It was just there was no focus. That was my problem. Okay, so where do you want to go from here?
I'm looking at screenshots right now, like Google image screenshots, and every one that I've found so far with orcs in the background, the orcs aren't just standing there, not just in like a T-pose. They're doing stuff.
Oh, if there was a T-pose in the background, I would have lost my shit.
That would have been hilarious.
I would have gotten up and cheered in the theater.
Okay, well, maybe I'm remembering it wrong. Maybe I merged it, but I could have sworn, man, it was. I remember getting distracted during the movie because I was like, what the fuck is that orc doing there? He's just fucking looking at me. Weird. Maybe it was just one scene. But anyway.
My main issue with the graphics, or like, the look of the film, is Garona compared to all the other orcs.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
She is just a human painted green with little stupid fake teeth. It's so bad.
Those teeth, when she was delivering lines, you're just like she sounds like she's got those lips, because those things were getting in her way. You could tell the actress was trying. And I have to give it to this. Like, the acting in this movie isn't, like, you could tell, like, they were just not given a strong script. They were trying so hard to, like, put like power and passion behind these words that just were fucking just so magoo. Like, who cares?
Yeah, the only times I actually had issues with the delivery is the King of Stormwind in general, and Lothar in the scene after he's lost his son and they're having their little meeting, and he's he's trying too hard to be emotional, and it just comes across like I'm watching like a 3D remake of The Room.
What that remind me of is the scene, like you said, the scenes from the prequels. Like it was, I guarantee you, this was directed like one of those scenes where it's like, okay, no, you do this and he'll react and blah blah blah. And I feel like this was the scene where Natalie Portman was packing. This was him trying to do that, like trying to give some sort of interesting motion during this scene. And I think it just went over the top.
You tear me apart, Corona.
Exactly.
Fucking Tommy Wiseau guest directed that scene.
Oh, hi, Medivh.
Oh, hi, Medivh. Yeah,
But I mean, remember, the dwarves looked amazing. They got it right, at least there.
Dwarves.
Khadgar was just a bad actor. I don't know. He was like very amateur.
I don't think that was bad acting. I seriously think that was bad script. His lines were fucking whatever, dude.
Yeah, I think his delivery was just so plain.
Well, it's like they tried to
turn
Khadgar into almost a comic relief character.
That's true.
How do you get that? I thought
he
was
he's the buddy cop. He's totally the buddy cop.
Yeah, good way to say it.
Yeah, he's like Lothar's your serious. He's your fucking Bruce Willis cop, and Khadgar is totally like fucking, I don't know, Chris Rock. or no, yeah. It's like
Chris Rock,
like that.
Chris Tucker, Kevin Hart. Yeah. Take your pick of.
Yeah, and he's totally he's totally just in there, and he says the funny line. And I have to say, the comic relief, and I'm putting that in quotes that you can't see because this is a podcast. The comic relief in this is terrible. Like they try so hard with these like one-liners that like you can tell they pause for laughter. No one in the audience was laughing when I saw it.
Yeah.
All 10 people just silent.
Well, the WoW jokes went over pretty well. I mean, at least in my theater, when I went to see it on opening day, I mean, it was like 99% WoW nerds in there. And all of those jokes got a good laugh. That's what we're expecting.
I saw it on opening
visuals
day too.
Got a good laugh. Like the Murloc bit and whatnot. But
yeah, that was the strongest laugh for sure within the audience when you finally saw the Murloc, when you saw the Hogger stuff, when the polymorph, like that all got some big laughs. But like you could see like there's like some ice breaking dialogue that just fell flat. And I don't know if that's just because, again, we're not invested, and therefore we don't know if this is something this character would say or if this is out of character for them to say.
I think a real problem with the lack of investment here is I don't know who this movie was for, because I don't know where they're going to go. Because if you were trying to get us invested into seeing the rest of this story, I'm not sure they succeeded. Because as I mentioned before, we haven't made it through the first Warcraft yet. Like there's still more of Warcraft 1 before the end of the story. Then you have Warcraft 2 before you finally get to Warcraft 3. But they're already setting up the kind of story plots for Warcraft 3 with Thrall.
Yeah,
right.
And I just
another question.
Who was this movie for?
Another question I have before we get into that. Another question I have is in the lore, was the demon blood? Did that turn them green, or did that give them the red eyes? Because I remember it giving them the red eyes.
Exposure to Fel does turn them green, and that's actually why Thrall is green, even though his parents aren't. Coming through the portal and being around orcs that practice magic, being around the warlocks and whatnot.
Okay, that I wasn't sure of. And where was Hellscream?
He was in there. All of the orc warlords were in there. They just weren't by name, but
all of them
were in there. Yeah.
Except for Ner'zhul.
Yeah, that's true. And Ner'zhul's a big one. That he's kind of a Lich King.
Yeah, well, in the lore, the original lore, Ner'zhul and Kargath stayed behind. Both of those characters stayed behind the Dark Portal. But in this one, Kargath was there. I saw Blade Fist. So,
but yeah, where was Hellscream? And he's kind of a big deal. So they gave Doomhammer a name, barely.
No, Hellscream was in there a lot. He just didn't have a name, but he was there with them for most of the time.
Where?
He was in the background.
Which one was he?
He was like hanging out with them. It's the one that looks like Hellscream.
Yeah,
it's the one with the top knot or the top ponytail. He was there.
I did
He
not
was
see
very
him.
distinct from the rest of the orcs.
The one with Hellscream's axe. He literally had his weapon and everything.
I
Yeah, that's
must have
true.
missed that. Maybe I was too distracted by one of the orcs not doing anything.
No, yeah,
he
he's
had
in their bunch.
his new stupid redesign where instead of having stubble, he has tattoos on his chin.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I saw Black Hand for sure, obviously. Doomhammer, of course, and obviously and I forgot his name, Duratan. But yeah, I was missing Hellscream, and also Hellscream was kind of Doomhammer's like right hand man. Shouldn't he have had some lines? Did he have lines? Did I miss him?
Well, Doomhammer was Blackhand's right hand man.
Well, not in this
It's
story.
all
Doomhammer
fucked up.
was.
Yeah, that's if I get to go on a lore rant, yeah, there's gonna be lots of things to talk about.
Go for it. We got some time.
Okay, I mean, pretty much starting from the beginning. Gul'dan basically should not have been present through the end of this movie. Gul'dan in Warcraft 1 is knocked unconscious when he tries to touch minds with Medivh, and Gul'dan is taken out of the picture. Blackhand is the leader of the orcs at all times, not Gul'dan. Doomhammer suspects that Blackhand is kind of a puppet for Gul'dan, so when Gul'dan falls into his coma, Doomhammer takes out Blackhand, cuts off his head, and becomes the new war chief. Doomhammer is at no point ever a part of Durtan's clan. He's never a Frostwolf. He's part of the
I knew that.
He is part of the Blackrock orcs, and he becomes the new war chief. When Gul'dan finally does snap out of his coma, he does submit to Doomhammer in kind of the classic villain, yeah, I'm kneeling, but really I'm not submitting to you kind of way. But the very first thing the orcs do when they come through the portal is go and try to trash Stormwind. Doesn't happen. So we never see that Stormwind is defended at any point. Stormwind never feels like it's in any immediate danger in this movie. The threat is very much like not on your doorstep. Which
That would have been a really good to get invested scene. Absolutely. And yes, that exactly what you just said. It would have made us feel like a threat to Stormwind. And yeah, you're right. And I kind of didn't put that together when you just said it. You never really feel like Stormwind's in any immediate danger. It feels like this war that's happening is so far away that like you literally have to take a fucking griffin to get to it.
That was one of the biggest plot points of Warcraft, right? Of Warcraft 1, is that Stormwind gets destroyed, so the humans have to go north to Lordaeron, and they come back and retake their land, and they rebuild Stormwind, and that's how Stormwind gets to be the way it is now. Right?
Yeah, well, that's the end of Warcraft 1. So early on in Warcraft 1, the orcs smash up against Stormwind, and it withstands the attack. The end of Warcraft 1 is where they actually burn Stormwind to the ground.
That's another thing that, yeah, that's true. That's another thing that, like Warcraft nerds like me, I mean, it kind of made sense to me. I see that they're close to home because they're in Westfall and they're in Redridge. And I know how close that is to Elwyn, but it's not conveyed very well to people who don't know otherwise.
No, and we only see hunting parties in those two areas. We always see the brunt of the orc forces is always around the Dark Portal and the Black Morass.
They ransacked the shit out of Redridge. There's a whole scene that's pretty cool. I thought that one was great, where they pan around to all the different places. And like everything.
But then they went back.
Not Westfall.
Then they went back. Yeah,
they
just
ransacked Redridge and then
Redridge,
left.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying they never pan around to Westfall, and I was actually looking forward to that because I don't know. I spent a lot of time in Westfall.
Well,
Westfall was there.
You get a good 3 minutes or so of seeing Westfall. I mean, they have the harvesters in there, and they have the towers, and they have all that stuff. Yeah.
I was looking for Defias though. No Defias.
Well, Defias wouldn't have been around at that point because the Defias were the stonemasons that rebuilt Stormwind and then didn't get paid. So the Defias would not have been around.
Okay, fair enough. This is what I'm talking about, man. Grant with his lore.
I mean that was the weird thing to me is the whole orc structure. Khadgar is not like any sort of exile in the lore. Khadgar is part of the Kirin Tor. He's sent to Medivh as an apprentice. He senses something wrong. He doesn't know it's the Fel. He doesn't know it's Argeris, but he senses something is wrong. So he starts looking into it. And that's what sets him on the path of finding out that Medivh is actually the one who's bringing the orcs over. He goes to Lothar, Lothar and Medivh are old friends, and they have to confront Medivh. Garona is not a slave. Garona she's a slave basically to Gul'dan. She is actually presented as an emissary to the humans, and she's kind of the mouthpiece of the Horde. And she kind of gains their trust, and that's why she's able to kill King Lane, not because King Lane wants her to, but because she's brainwashed by Gul'dan. They tried so hard in this movie to make Garona into the sympathetic character who's just doing the wrong thing for the right reasons. She's in the wrong place at the right time, and no, Garona's a fucking assassin. She kills this dude because Gul'dan is controlling her. This isn't a tearful thing. Well,
yeah,
not tearful in the same way, I should say.
And you right now, in like the 5 to 10 minutes you've described the story, have interested me more than this fucking movie ever did. Like, I want to know more about it. And that's the thing. This movie focused or tried to focus so much on action. And I've never seen a movie try so much to focus on action and utterly fail like this. Like, I did not care about the action, the fight scenes, although rendered pretty cool.
The only good fight was Durtan versus Gul'dan.
Yeah. Like
the only good fight in this movie is when it was CG versus CG. When you tried to have humans interacting with this stuff, it just didn't. There was just no collision. There was no feel.
It didn't feel real, and it felt really slow and slow paced and stuff. Especially when the humans first encounter the orcs.
However, I do want to say that I'm glad Lothar versus Black Hand was not drawn out. Like, that was a quick fight. He killed him quick, and it was like, okay, whatever, I'm out of here.
I have to say, though, that, again, really kind of pissed me off a little bit, because there was a chance for some investment there.
They spent so much time on Black Hand, and then he gets one shot, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Fucking lame.
This is you see him like get slowly corrupted by the Fel, and like slowly mutated, and then for him to have this like big huge epic scene where his you see his hand bursting forth and shit, and for him to be like cut from groin to fucking head in one shot like that was wasteful. It was wasteful.
In a power slide of all things.
Yeah.
If you learn anything from this movie, it's protect your balls.
Really?
Oh,
orcs don't do that. That's
one thing I will say, and this is a brutal scene, which kind of made me just chuckle at the whole no animals were harmed during the making of this film. There's a scene. There's a scene kind of early on where the hunting party, and they're chasing that orc, and the orc just tosses his axe backwards and just kneecaps this poor horse, and it eats shit into the ground. It is the most brutal thing in the movie by far.
Also, like Tino said, not enough dwarves. More dwarves, please. There were some scenes where we could have seen some dwarf action fighting, especially if there was a fucking scene where the orcs try to sack Stormwind, even that would have been great, and then we could have had some dwarf fighting there. But I mean, I felt teased. I was like, here's these cool characters. They spent all this time CGI. They look fucking great, and the biggest thing they fucking do is hand him a gun. Oh, we invented this. That's it.
That's the plot point for how the humans are able to fight the orcs. So that's how they're able to overcome is through technology and dwarves. That's how they're able to defeat them.
Which also doesn't make sense, because there's where's the training montage? You're telling me there's experts at fucking using these weapons that just got invented 5 minutes ago?
You just pull a trigger and it shoots. I mean, you don't really have to train for that.
Yeah, try fighting. Actually, never mind. That's ridiculous.
No, they foreshadow it in the beginning of the movie. That the only time that you see Iron Forge is when they foreshadow it. They allude to it.
Really?
Lothar is being trained right there. He puts the gun right up to his face and doesn't fire.
He's introduced into it. That's not a training. That's again. There's no time where there's no solid depiction of time here, so we can't really. I don't know if that was months before, or a day before, or a week before.
Regardless, a dwarf has new technology. He tries to use it. Oh, doesn't work. Okay, I'll fix it. But that's all you need. You've seen what happens. You know what's going to happen.
I guess, but if that's going to be a major plot point in how they defeat the orcs, then shouldn't there be this is new technology, men? use it, and here's how you do it, and like a week later they should know how to do it and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, they could have definitely done a better job, but the audience gets it.
I
don't think that was a problem.
I got a dumb nerdy side note. There were no muskets in Warcraft 1. It was all archers. There was no firepower.
Yeah, that came like what, Warcraft 3?
Yeah, Warcraft 3 is where we got the marksman unit. And who were the marksman units? They were dwarves.
Dwarves.
Of course.
And not one gnome. I think everyone's grateful for that. But I like gnomes, so more gnomes.
They were in there. They were just below the camera line.
No one saw them.
Yeah.
There was a good setup for a joke there.
Like, I think we just made
something.
it.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, I'm talking about in the movie. Like, there, instead of like those weird like one-liners that Lothar says, they could have been a gnome joke. More people would have laughed.
But I feel like if they would have put more races, like focus more on the other races, that wouldn't help the movie.
It wouldn't have.
No. I mean, if you want to really give me fan service, though, show me most of the races. I still think the best trailer for World of Warcraft was the second one, because it showed first and second ones, because it showed you all the races, and like it made you see how big this world really is. And this world seems really fucking small, man.
They did show all the races. What do you mean? How many more races do you want? Like, okay, they left the gnomes out, but we already made sense of that. Like, what else are you looking for?
And again, this is Warcraft 1.
Yeah, fair enough. I get
humans.
that. I get that. I just hit my mic. I'm so passionate. I get that. No, it's a small grievance. It's not something that like I demand, but I would have liked to see. Like Nulls. I mean, you saw the Hogger sign, but where are the fucking Nulls? We got one Murloc, really?
That's all you need.
Alone.
Yeah, that's all you need.
A wave of Murlocs.
I would have liked a swarm. I would like to see Khadgar aggro some Murlocs. That'd been great. That would have been funny. Actually, him like fucking stumbling, like trying to get his way to Goldshire, and he fucking stumbles.
That would have been great. You get dazed, gets knocked off his mount, and then he has to leash.
Yeah, exactly. That would have been fucking great. I don't know, just like if you're not going to give me something to and you know what, that would have given you ample time to invest a little more in Khadgar to see how he handles that. That's all you need. You don't need like dialogue or exposition. You just need a moment with Khadgar where you can actually like see him and how he figures out, and then you get more character development from him. You get more setup for a character arc, something like that. These are the things that are present in movies like Civil War and like Iron Man and like the really great sort of dorky movies that we're getting nowadays, is the fact that we have these little moments where we see what these characters are all about, and that's just not present here at all, not anywhere. The only time you actually see that is the little moments with Duratan and his wife. Or the moments where Duratan and Doomhammer are talking together, and you can really see the type of person he is.
I disagree. I mean, I understand what you're saying. You're making very valid points, but I think on a basic level they achieved that. You know who the characters are. They may be one-dimensional or very plain.
But that's the reason why this is a basic movie and not a great.
Yeah. It's a basic movie, but it conveys all the elements that they want to successfully.
Yeah,
and
so it's like
that
a
the movie
C
tries to show
paper
you
versus an A paper. It's the reason why this movie is not going to get the
Yeah.
franchise I think it wants, or it might. I don't know, because it was really big in China.
Is it big in China? Or like,
Yeah, it hit huge in China.
It opened huge. It's seeing pretty harsh fall off, but that's not even going to matter because it has the biggest opening in Chinese history or some shit like that.
So they've gotten enough money now to warrant a sequel. So maybe they'll do better next time.
Chris, look at this picture. That's all you need to know about the guns right there.
No,
Yes,
you don't.
that's all you need to know.
Not
Look,
all.
she's shooting it. He's pointing it and he's shooting it. All right, they learned how to use guns.
Bullshit. All right, fine, whatever. I guess. I mean, I'm no gun expert, but I think it takes more, especially if you're gonna win a war with guns, than just knowing to point and shoot. Especially a fucking blunderbuss, which that is.
Yeah, learning how to reload a one-shot weapon probably would have been handy.
Right? And that's another thing. This totally has action movie guns where they don't run out of bullets.
Nope.
Yeah, that is.
No, yeah.
But whatever. I mean, our in the game we don't run out of bullets now either. So Yeah, I can let that go, I guess. So I'm gonna go with a rating system here, and we'll go down the list. Grant, why don't you start? Out of 5 soul shards, what do you give this fucking movie?
Well, I mean, I went in with really low expectations, and for the first half of the movie, I was actually pleasantly surprised. The first half of the movie, I'm like, oh, they're kind of hitting some neat notes. The Murloc thing, we saw Ironforge, and then it all falls apart at the end. There's very little tension. 2.5 if I can. Otherwise, just a 2, flat 2.
A flat 2 soul shards. Okay, Jared?
Man, I give it about maybe 3 hours of farming before MC. Fill your bags, you know. I think it was worth my money. I think it was definitely worth the time investment. Dorkier. Okay.
Are we going with old soul shards?
I said soul shards.
Soul shards? Because you did have to farm those up. That you could hold way more than 5.
Yeah, you could have you fill your bags with them, right? Because you have to make hellstones for everybody constantly. I mean, when you're on a boss, you don't have trash to farm them from. So yeah, you have to.
Yeah, they didn't stack.
Give me a number.
I don't give numbers. No, I don't think the number rating system is good. I give it a worth my money rating. Yes, it was worth the money and the time that I spent on it.
This was not worth movie ticket money. I could have rented it and probably been okay. It's not a go see it now. It's a see it if you feel like it.
And Tino.
Yeah, I agree. It's a see it if you feel like it. But I mean, I enjoyed it, but I would not pay movie theater prices for it.
And you, Chris?
I'm gonna give it 1 fucking soul shard because I'm keeping my goddamn rating
system. Okay.
Damn it.
I'll give it 3 soul shards. It was a mediocre movie, right in the middle.
I am giving it 1. It gave me some fan service, which is okay, but it left me hanging story wise. It had me hanging character wise. It looked pretty, but I would like to see the world instead of a fucking blur half the time. So because it was shot fucking poorly too. So yeah, 1 soul shard. That's what I'm giving it.
All right. One question: did you guys like Gul'dan's voice? I fucking hated it.
That's a good point. Yeah, you want to talk voice actors for a second? That's
like
a cool
gravelly
topic.
And stuff. I don't think it was bad for the character.
I thought it was fine.
I disagree. I'm with Tino on this one. It didn't feel right, especially since we come from a game that had this is a character that is completely CGI. Why didn't they just use the game actors? Like that would have been better. And obviously the actors know the character
because
a lot
Chris
more.
Metzen is a very busy man.
I'm sure for the amount of money they probably sunk into this, they could have made it worth it.
Oh, you missed a Metzen joke. True fan, you are not. Get out.
No, I'm not. What? I don't get it. Oh God, now I look stupid. Yeah. So there you have it, folks. That is the awesome analysis on World of Warcraft. Tell us what you think. Leave us some comments, especially if on iTunes. Please leave us some comments. That's how we get noticed. So if you are one of the 3 people that are listening to this, leave a comment, leave a rating. Tell us we're full of shit, or if we actually had some valid points, you could hit us up on Twitter as well at Awesome Analysis. Tino checks that, I believe, regularly.
Yeah, every now and again.
Okay, Grant, is there a place that people can follow you or talk to you?
Sure, I'm on Twitter at The Marvelous Fig.
Okay, Jared?
Just my YouTube channel, the /u/SoFetch.
And Tino?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at wicked_decision.
And I'm also on Twitter at Mighty Milk Me. So yeah, hit me up too if I'm full of shit or if you actually liked anything that we had to say.
Absolutely.
Really full of shit.
I missed the Mensa joke. All right.
I'm
thank you
going to
very
explain
much.
that one to you right now.
Oh.
Chris Metzen is a designer at Blizzard. He is not a voice actor outside of Blizzard games. He plays Thrall, Vol'jin, Varian Wrynn, Deathbringer Sourfang, Nefarian, Ragnaros, Hakar, Nalek the Stormlord from Mists of Pandaria. He's the battle cruiser in StarCraft 2. He is a very busy person.
He's an actual battle cruiser.
Yes.
5 battle cruisers. All right, I'm sorry. I just like the 12 days of Christmas sung by StarCraft folks. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. Please, like I said, please leave some comments below. Until next time, this was Awesome Analysis. Thanks for tuning in.